Good morning. It's my privilege as principal of Marion L. Steele High School to welcome all of you to the 2019 Amherst Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success induction ceremony. On behalf of the Amherst School staff, the class of 2020 here with us today, and the entire Amherst community, we congratulate today's inductees for their contributions while attending Amherst schools and their successful endeavors after graduation. At this time, I'd like to introduce our Board of Education in attendance and our administrative teams. Representing the Amherst School Board of Education is Board Member Valerie Neidert. Members of Amherst School Central Office with us this morning, Superintendent Steve Sayers. Assistant Superintendent Mike Molnar. Director of Student Services, Sarah Walker. Marion L. Steele's administrative team, Assistant Principals Ashley Harrigan and Nikki Campbell. And Athletic Director, Casey Wolf. I'd also like to take this time to thank alumni and current teacher Russ Marty for planning and organizing the vast majority of what you see here today. At this time, I'd ask you to please stand as the Marion L. Steele Concert Choir, under the direction of Eric Watts, sing the Star Spangled Banner in the Amherst Alma Mater.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Amherst high, our alma mater, stand we now to thee. Always loyal and devoted where'er we may be. Far and wide our sons and daughters fear not any fate. Fairest school in all Ohio, leader of the state.
You may be seated. I feel like I'm in church. Can we have one more round of applause for our concert choir? They are phenomenal. Now, as they're shuffling out, I can't help but mention that that is one of my favorite songs, but when Mary Miller is in the house and they sing it, it's even more meaningful because her dad, Mr. Fred Powers, wrote the words to that, and it gives me chills when she's there and gets to hear it sung in the manner that it was just done. Welcome, Mary. As our concert choir makes their exit for a few moments, I would like to recognize the people to my right and two individuals on my left as past inductees to the Amherst Gallery of Success. I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to be here today. It's always a pleasure to see your faces and meet new ones, so thank you for your time and all that you've done for the Amherst schools. So we graduated our first class in 1887 with 3 graduates. Since that initial trio, just under 20,000 students have earned their diplomas from the Amherst schools. Of those, today's inductees will bring the grand total of Gallery of Success members to 132. Now, I'm not a... Go ahead. Thank you. Now, believe me, I'm not a mathematician. Right, Mr. Dermer? But if my calculations are correct, that number composes a mere 0.6% of the students who have graduated from the Amherst schools. That shows you what an impressive group of alumni make up this prestigious group of gallery inductees. The members of the Gallery of Success have been selected after being nominated by a member of the community and then having undergone a rigorous selection process by members of the Marion L. Steele High School Student Council. I would ask that you take a moment and take out the insert in your program and scan the names of the past inductees. I promise you will find a very wide range of individuals who have all achieved success in their own ways. Some have saved lives as medical doctors. Others have helped launch astronauts into space. Some have patented inventions. Others taken risks as entrepreneurs. Some members of the Gallery of Success make a difference through social activism, and others through preserving history. Many of our inductees have found success right here in the sandstone center of the world. Others have ventured to distant corners of our planet. I want to focus on the students who are in attendance today. Every one of those individuals has something in common with you. They walk the same halls that you do every morning and every afternoon. Some of them even have the same teachers who enlighten you on a daily basis. I won't say names. The only true prerequisite for admission into the gallery is that you've graduated from the Amherst schools. But these individuals share another thing in common. They all followed their passions. They all worked hard, they all put their best foot forward, and they maintained their focus. So I think it would be safe for me to speak on behalf of all the faculty and staff here at Marion L. Steele High School when I say that we want each of you to follow your passions, to work hard, to put your best foot forward, and maintain your focus as you find your way through your adult life. Without further ado, I am excited for you to meet the 6 members of our Comet family who all found success by following their passions. Thank you.
William McCloda was incredibly involved throughout all stages in his life, and he defined success as continuing to work hard, even through many troubles and setbacks. This definition of success exemplifies William perfectly. He had many handicaps such as missing fingers on his left hand, a lost eye, and even a lost leg. This impeded on his ability to participate in sports, but this most definitely did not stop him from being involved. Coach Dick Cooley told him that he held the record for the fastest one-legged 400-meter dash. He went beyond even that and was head track coach, girls track coach, and an assistant football coach. His achievements did not stop in the athletic world, however. They extended into the academic spectrum. William was a science teacher in South Amherst for 8 years, where his teaching style was very hands-on. He then went on and became a science professor at Mountain View College and edited textbooks for McGraw-Hill and other companies, as well as writing a textbook himself. For this, he received an award for his ability at developing teaching materials. He also created the first on-television educational course called Earth, Sea, and Sky, which started out as a 400-page college essay. William accredits Mr. Towsley, a science teacher that used to teach at Amherst, to helping him achieve his high levels of success. This was due to Mr. Towsley's way of teaching that made his students learn and prep them for success. William graduated from Ohio State University in 1960 with a bachelor's in science and went on to get a master's from Indiana University, where he was one of 10 from 3,500 to be awarded an Academic Year Institute in Earth Science. William was also involved in his community and church. This included purchasing a mobile home for a man without resources. William McClota is a perfect example of success because even through hardships he perseveres, which makes him a perfect inductee into the Gallery of Success. Unfortunately, William McClota is deceased. Here to speak on his behalf is his son, Larry McClota.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that very much. Hopefully this works. I'm probably going to read mostly. So, first of all, I'd like to thank 1992 inductee and best aunt ever, Cheryl Cookie McClota, for submitting Dad for this honor. On behalf of my brother David and the rest of the McClota family, I'm humbly honored to represent my father as he's inducted into the Amherst School's Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success. Dad's childhood misfortunes are nothing short of legendary. He had 6 trips to the hospital in 12 years. As an infant, he nearly choked to death on candy twice. When he was 4, while playing with matches and a dynamite blasting cap at the family farm, he lost 3 fingers and 1 eye. At age 11, he fell 60 feet out of a tree and spent 44 days with a severely broken arm and leg in the hospital. Then, just a year later, while riding bikes with his brother Neil, Dad was struck by a car, suffering fractures in both hips and both legs. The injury to his left leg resulted in amputation. So by age 12, Dad had endured more trauma and pain than most of us will in a lifetime. However, he remained incredibly resilient. Dad excelled in high school. His physical limitations never stopped him from contributing to school athletics. He was the team manager for football, basketball, and track. In addition to his involvement in school sports, he was in school plays, on the scholarship team, vice president of the student council, and president of the science club. He was once even appointed mayor for the day. Dad went on to graduate from Ohio State University and received his master's degree in earth science from Indiana University at Bloomington. He returned to Ohio as a science teacher at South Amherst High School. This is when he met and married Mom, Anna Blanchard, also an Amherst resident. Soon after their marriage, they moved to Dallas, Texas, where Dad was one of the first geology professors at the new Mountain View Community College. During his 30-year tenure, Dad taught astronomy, geology, geography, physical sciences, and oceanography. He also authored a number of textbooks, study guides, and lab manuals. Dad was the content specialist and course author for over 400 pages of content for a weekly telecourse called Earth, Sea, and Sky. The telecourse can best be described as the precursor to modern online education. The course was broadcast on local public television channels across the U.S. for students to tune in at home for daily lectures. Dad's biggest hobbies were photography and travel. In his travels visiting national parks around the U.S., he photographed a number of sites primarily related to geologic features. Dad's photography collection exceeded 40,000 images. Success can be defined in all sorts of ways. If you really love dad jokes, he was a very successful comedian. Here's a couple that must have been repeated hundreds of times. What do you call a cat in the desert and Christmas? What does a cat in the desert and Christmas have in common? They both have sandy claws. Why did the spider cross the road? To build a better website. So Dad would regularly make breakfast for his Sunday school class, such as sausage biscuits or chocolate chip banana bread muffins. I guarantee those hungry people considered him a very successful chef. Of course, my brother and I think he was an extremely successful father. I think my brother Dave turned out okay. He graduated from MIT and now teaches at Dallas's nationally recognized science and engineering magnet high school. For me, I'm a publisher and editor for a newspaper and magazine back in Dallas. I suppose the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. As an avid photographer, Dad always had a camera handy in hand to get all sorts of shots of rocks or clouds or trees or more rocks or the occasional family member. We have boxes upon boxes upon boxes of prints, negatives, and slides to prove that success. Dad had great success authoring college textbooks, study guides, and lab manuals. There was, however, another book he published after retirement. As what can best be described as a book of complaints about how people drive, Dad published So You Think You're a Good Driver. You can look it up on Amazon, and if the goal is to get 0 stars and 0 reviews, the book is a massive success. All joking aside, the thing I'm most proud about my dad is his humble empathy. For Dad, experiencing simple acts of kindness, stories of overcoming adversity, and general acts of decent humanity resulted in what my daughter calls happy tears. My dad never hesitated to help someone in need. One clear example is of the time he helped a neighbor. The neighbor lived in a very old, run-down farmhouse that was honestly very dangerous. The man lived a relatively solitary life, except for frequent visits from my father. When it was clear the man didn't have the means to move or repair the house, Dad bought him a mobile home and parked it next to his house. Thanks again for this tremendous recognition. Dad's induction today into South Amherst School's Distinguished Alumni Gallery of Success is a fitting addition to Dad's life of success. Thank you.
Good morning. Today, I have the honor to introduce Mr. Patrick Sanders. He was a graduate of the class of '81 and was the technical director for MLS Theater Company for 39 years and just retired this spring. As a student, he wasn't the best, he admits. He was mostly in special ed classes, and then he left for JVS his junior year for carpentry. Mr. Sanders says that he got into theater because one day the vice principal at the time took him to the director's room and said, "He is your problem now, don't let him get in trouble." The director at the time taught Mr. Sanders all about theater: set, lights, sound, how to build more effectively, how to reuse items instead of making them permanent and then having to destroy them. He quickly became one of his favorite teachers, and eventually the school board did hire him as the technical director after staying after his final high school years. But if you were to divide his total hours by how much he got paid, it comes out to less than $1 an hour. That just shows his dedication and love for the arts and the school. What I learned while working with Mr. Sanders is that he did this job for the love of theater and the kids here at Steele. It was a pleasure to get to know him and work with him. He believes that he got nominated for the Gallery of Success because he stuck it out for all of the years. Mr. Sanders believes success is to give students what they need to survive and push them to go on to bigger and better things. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Sanders.
I'm not one for being in front of people, so that's why I spent 39 years behind stage. I'd like to thank Dave for the 39 years of being my mentor and friend. He helped me get through all this and enjoy what I do the most. I love theater with a passion. And I stayed with it for the period of time I did because of the students. I wanted the students to learn, to go on to life and do things they could do. What helped me be successful is I never took no for an answer. Somebody said, you can't do that? Yes, you can. If kids would build things, I would tell them, it's not right, tear it apart, do it again. I said, well, it costs money. It doesn't matter. Do it till you do it right. That's the way I've run my life. I've had a lot of people in the real work world I'm in tell me you can't do anything. You'll never succeed. And I took that to heart, and I've been running with that, and I've succeeded in everything I've tried to do. I've been with Luria Foundry Company for almost 35 years. I started out as just an apprentice molder. At that time, things were rough. The kids would say, well, that's not good work for you. Work is work. I always believed in hard work every day, go to work every day, don't play sick, don't play hooky. It doesn't get you anywhere. Like Sam said, I love theater so much that I didn't do it for the money. I did it because I loved the kids. I loved working with the kids. I loved to take a script, give it to the kid and say, let's design something from the script. It's your show. I never came on stage with the kids. They did the shows. I always stayed backstage. I repaired the things that they would break to keep the show going. But in the long run, it was always the kids that I cared about. It was their show. What they made out of it, it was theirs. That's about all I got. Not much of a speaker, sorry. But thank you for this honor. I don't think I deserve it, but I'll take it. Go Comets.
Dr. Eileen Shin was part of the Amherst School District all 13 years of her education. She attended Marion L. Seal from 1981 to 1985, where she went on to be valedictorian of her graduating class. She did her undergraduate studies at Amherst College in Amherst, Massachusetts, and received her Bachelor of Science in Psychology. She then attended Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, for graduate studies, where she received a PhD in clinical psychology. She went on to do a clinical internship at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. She then completed 2 postdoctoral fellowships, one at the University of Texas Public School of Health and one at MD Anderson in Houston, Texas, where she is currently a tenure-track faculty member and assistant professor in the Department of Behavior Science at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. Dr. Shin has led several federally funded studies in the area of cancer survivorship, and her current research is focused on the areas of adherence to difficult regimens with head and neck cancer patients and also breast cancer patients. Along with her research in wearable sensors, home monitoring, machine learning, and tumor progression, she collaborates with several different fields to reduce stress and hospitalization for cancer patients, both during and after treatment. Not only was she successful in the classroom, she also took her skills to the track. One of her favorite memories at Amherst was being on the track team and doing the 1.25 mile runs around downtown Amherst. She even remembers a special incident of her 7th grade grammar class. The way her 2 co-teachers taught her the basic art of grammar set her up to be the wonderful writer she is today. She remains struck by how well Amherst education built her strong foundational skills and experience that prepared her for college and graduate studies. Dr. Shin continues to value the experience of growing up in a small town and what she learned by knowing the same people all her life. She took her foundational skills that Amherst taught her and paired them with a strong work ethic to become the successful psychologist she is today. Without further ado, it is my privilege to introduce Dr. Eileen Shin.
Thank you so much for today's honor. It's really wonderful to come back. I haven't been back at Marion L. Steele for, 30 years. My daughter is going to her homecoming dance tonight as well, and she was emailing me and saying, Mom, did you get the email about the ticket? I need a ticket. So I hope you all have a wonderful time tonight, and I hope you have your outfits all picked out. I'd like to thank my parents who are here today, and they still live here in Amherst. And I'd like to thank Mr. Derrimer for nominating me. And one of my old high school teachers, Mr. Strom, is here in the audience. He was my AP English teacher. I had some really wonderful teachers in high school, Mr. Towsley as well, and Mr. Smith, and he taught bio. But I just really wanted to say, because having this award and thinking about what I was going to tell you all, just a few words of advice. Don't be afraid to work hard. And what I mean by that is sometimes things seem very impossible. Sometimes the odds seem really stacked against you. There was a point in my career when I was early, and right after I got my postdoc, I needed to get a grant in order to keep my job. And the NIH grants, they're very competitive to get. There's only like a 5 to 8% chance of winning a grant, and it all depends on whether the reviewers like your idea or not. And so I said to my husband, I said, "Oh my gosh, honey, I just don't think I'm going to be able to keep this job. The odds are so low." And he said, "What are you worried about? Just apply for everything. You're going to get it all." And I laughed at him and I said, "You don't know what you're talking about." Well, what I did was I would work all day, answer my emails, go to meetings, attend different committees that I had to do. But then after work, I'd eat dinner and then stay in my office till about 2 or 3 in the morning. And I had a little pillow and a blanket under my desk, and I'd sleep for a couple hours, get up around 6 or 7 in the morning, drive home, take a shower, then drive back and be in the office by 9:30. And I just kept working and working and working and just submitting grants and trying to make my grants as good as possible. And what do you know? My husband was right. I got all of the grants I applied for. So I was able to keep my job. And it was really such a surprise. But, I knew that I had to try the best I could. So don't be afraid to work hard. It really will. It will never fail you if you commit to working hard. The other piece of advice that I thought I'd pass on to you is that, I'm really proud of the fact that I grew up in this small town. And I like the fact that growing up in a small town, everybody has a connection with each other, and there isn't really any I can't say it now. You're not really anonymous in a small town. Everybody knows each other. After I graduated and I went to a small college in Massachusetts, I was with so many kids from around the world. Lots of kids who went to private schools in New York City, kids who were from really wealthy families in Hong Kong, and everyone was bragging all the time. I didn't study at all for that test, and I aced it. This is easy. And I just felt so intimidated because we don't brag like that here in high school, here at Amherst. We're just pretty honest with each other. We all know each other. There's nothing really to hide behind. It took me a while to realize that most of these kids were lying. And, they're all like putting up false fronts in front of each other. But we don't really have to do that here, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that when you go out into the world and you meet all different kinds of people from all different walks of life, you should just feel proud of where you came from, and just understand that they're human beings just like you. They're no better than you. They have the same insecurities that we all do. And really, what sets you apart is how much effort and work you're willing to put into something. I never thought that when I was your age in high school that I would have the career that I do now. It's been a really wonderful career. I work in the academic medical field. This year alone, I've been to New Zealand giving talks and to Asia. It's been really, really interesting, but what I really like the most about my job is that I get to work with lots of different people from different fields, and nanoengineering and machine learning and pathology, molecular biology. It's been really, really interesting, and I just continue to learn every year. So I also wanted to tell you all, if any of you are interested in doing an internship down in Houston, you have a way to get down there, I'll be happy to sponsor you, or if you want to just call me or email me for some advice, I'd be happy to do that. I sponsor a lot of students in the summers, so if any of you are interested in coming down to the medical center, I'd be happy to help you out. And I wish you all the best of luck, and don't be intimidated by anything. Be proud of where you're from and work really hard. Thank you.
It gives me great honor to introduce 1987 Steele graduate, Mr. Rodney G. Davis. During his 4 years here, Mr. Davis was not only an outstanding student, but a member of both the football and wrestling teams as well. Through these sports, he showcased his strong leadership abilities by helping younger athletes and teaching them the work ethic needed in order to be successful. He carried these important values with him after graduation as he went on to Ohio Northern University and earned his Bachelor's of Science degree in 1991. In 1995, he graduated from the Cleveland Marshall College of Law with his Juris Doctorate degree, and in that same year was admitted into the Kentucky Bar Association. Mr. Davis accredits his high school education for his academic success. He distinctly remembers having to outline textbooks and take notes for Mr. Smith's biology class, and although he disliked it at the time, he admits that it did pay off because he knew how to study and take notes efficiently. He believes the outstanding Amherst education he received is a step above others and well prepared him for his undergraduate and law school. In 1999, Mr. Davis began his own law office, Davis Law PSC, which is currently engaged in the general practice of law in Richmond, Kentucky. In 2002, he was admitted to practice in the United States Supreme Court. In addition to this amazing accomplishment, in 2006, he was elected as a Steele County attorney where he served 2 terms. Mr. Davis is not only a respected attorney, but a successful businessman as well. His Next Generation Investments, LLC, currently manages approximately 32 commercial and residential properties in central Kentucky. Locally, Mr. Davis is a partner in the Brew Kettle Pub House and Production Brewery located in Strongsville, Hudson, and Uptown Amherst. Mr. Davis has clearly not forgotten about his Amherst roots, as he has invested in our city as the co-owner of 2 staple businesses, Hot Dog Heaven and Hasty Tasty. When asked to define success, Mr. Davis claimed that success is reaching a point where you can give back to the community. With a clearly busy schedule, Mr. Davis manages to find time to play an active role in his own community. He has been involved in many service projects and has worked to educate his community on ID theft and scam communication. He is a supporter of domestic violence education, and in 2014, he joined the national crackdown to reduce impaired driving fatalities. In addition to these projects, he serves on multiple community service advisory boards. Mr. Davis took the education and lessons he learned here at Steele and utilized them to further his success in his work and his community. I'm privileged to introduce to you exceptional alumni, Mr. Rodney G. Davis.
Good morning. Thank you for those very kind words. Let me begin by saying thank you to the Marion L. Steele faculty, staff, students, and family, and the Comet Alumni Association for hosting this event today, inviting me to be here. I'm also pleased to be here with my wife, Kim Bellino Davis, who is also a Steele graduate from Amherst, Ohio. Amherst and Marion L. Steele are unique places, and they hold a special place in our heart, so we're especially excited to be here for this event. I want to also thank Bill Matthews, who is a coach of mine and a teacher here at Amherst, and Chris Russo for being here today, who's my friend of 30 years and my business partner. My time at Steele prepared me in a very unique way for my legal career and my career as a developer and an entrepreneur. The education you're receiving today is a top-flight education. I was never accused of being an academic all-star when I was at Steele. However, I was clearly better prepared than my colleagues at Ohio Northern and at Cleveland Marshall Law School. You will be surprised when you head out into the world about how well prepared you are. So don't be nervous about that at all. I would be remiss probably if I didn't mention a couple of specific names. As I indicated, it's been 30 years since I've stepped foot at Steele. But when I see Bill Matthews, I still call him Coach. If Dale Smith walked in that door, I'd call him Coach. So those are very unique relationships that each one of you are going to treasure as you go forward. And after 30 years, I'm also pleased to call Chris Russo my friend. It's a lifelong relationship that you guys will build and go forward with. It's interesting to hear people talk about teachers because there's a couple of teachers that stood out that really forced me academically. Miss Gallagher, Mr. Smith, Mr. Morales are some of those teachers that really pushed me to succeed, and I'm sure each one of you are going to have those similar teachers in your life. Don't forget about them as you go forward. I'll close by saying this. Some people have given you some advice today, and especially people have talked about hard work. I agree with that 100%. Whatever you do, sell out. Work hard. But I'll tell you one other thing. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid of someone telling you can't do it, you can't do it. Don't listen to it and go forward and take your passion. Do your passion and don't be afraid to succeed. Thank you again, everybody, for having me here today. Appreciate it.
Well, first of all, good morning. My name is Isaac Davis, and as president of the Student Council, I have been granted the honor of introducing to you Amherst Alumni inductee, Katie Prem. Katie, like many of us, attended Amherst High School, obviously. She got her career started 13 years ago as an intern on the Today Show. It wasn't too long before her work ethic and drive propelled her ascension to the Specials Division as a producer, with a year-long intermission covering several important elections. As she is currently back on the Specials Division, she covers a large array of topics, such as the Pope coming to the U.S., obituaries, and even the breaking news that interrupts your regularly scheduled programming. At the age of 13, she was a member of the Amherst City Cable, which her current colleagues joke about and value since she was so young. That experience jump-started her on a path toward her present career. To get where she is today, she excelled in school. After transferring to Amherst from St. Joe's, she participated in every AP program that the school offered at that time and capitalized on the benefits of this and gained an amazing work ethic. Her AP experience allowed her to get an early start on college credits and get her into the necessary classes to become an intern at NBC before other students. As this event is called Gallery of Success, her view of success is an interesting one. It includes both personal and societal aspects. She is personally successful because she loves what she does wholeheartedly. And she is societally successful because she believes that keeping the people informed and getting the right message out is what makes the biggest positive impact on the world. It is my privilege to introduce to you, Katie Prem.
Hi, so I'm a journalist, so I wrote some stuff down. But thank you so much for this honor. I'm truly touched to be in the same breath as success in Amherst and to be among the other people on the stage who have accomplished so much in medicine and research and the military and business and education. It's truly an honor. I loved my time here at Amherst, and I have to agree with what Dr. Shin said because everybody I know knows how much I loved my time here at Amherst. Everybody in New York always talks about how I go on and on about how wonderful Ohio is and small town living and how people from the Midwest are just the best people. And the Indians, they all know how much I love the Indians. And I'm hoping that that turns around in the next 2 days. Attending Steele and the education I got here led to where I am today professionally. I had amazing teachers, including Mr. Lengel and Mr. Strom. Teachers you really wanted to impress and made you want to love to learn. Of course, my parents also instilled that in both my brother Adam and I, and one of the best things about being at Steele was actually having class with my brother, with Mr. Strom, and competing over who could get the better grades, and participating in classroom debates, which we would then bring home around the dinner table. I knew to be successful at Steele, I needed to get involved in things that I was interested in and passionate about. And for me, that meant the band, the choir, and the theater programs here. I'm sure many of you have found the same things that I found, that to be successful, you have to follow your interests, stake your claim, make your mark in the things that are of interest to you and important to you. I joined every choir that Mr. Skladden offered. I played in every band under Mr. Border and then Mr. Barbero. I acted in the plays with Chaz Jarmer and Val Farshman. I also built the sets with Pat Sanders. I hung lights, I made costumes, I made props, I did publicity, choreography. I balanced the books for the theater company. I just really wanted to be involved and make my mark and just do the things that I was passionate about. And some of my closest friends to this day are friends that I made in the hallways here and across the street at Powers, because that's where our stage was at that time, because we didn't have this here. And that includes also among those closest friends, Jake Wachholtz, who nominated me for this today, who I knew in band and in choir and in theater, and I'm just so happy that we have had 20 years, which is scary to say, but 20 years of friendship. A big part of being successful, and Isaac touched on this, and I think more importantly in being happy, is to find your passion and where you belong. And for me, that was so many of the things I did here at Steele, not just the on-stage roles or the solo roles. I was an alto, so I know how to be a team player and sing harmony in the background. And those are lessons that I apply today, things like teamwork, ingenuity, thinking outside the box. This is what I utilize every day, working with people from different TV shows, different TV networks, different political parties, and people both behind the camera and in front of it. I knew from about 10 years old I wanted to be in television. I liked telling people what I thought they should know. So when my dad saw something about a volunteer class to come learn about television at Amherst City Cable, I signed up. I came in as an eager 13, 14-year-old. They gave me my own show, Visual Radio. I think it's why Jake nominated me today. Yeah, he's clapping, stop. But I wanted to do more and learn other skills beyond just reading the words in the teleprompter for my show. And fortunately, there was someone there who was willing to teach me. And it's kind of amazing to be able to say that today when he's on the stage right next to me, and that's Pat Sanders. Pat taught me how to use a camera. He taught me how to use it better. He helped me learn how to edit. He was always encouraging me to come hang out at the studio. I think I spent more time in that studio than anybody else at Steele, and I wasn't even in the TV class. And as he said, he learned to fight for what he believed for and never say no, and he taught me that. When other people at the station wanted Visual Radio to go in a certain direction and I didn't, Pat said, do what you want to do. This is your show. Make it your show and put your mark on it. And thank you, Pat, because I wouldn't be up here today had it not been for you. Thank you. I don't know how to measure success because it can be rated in so many ways, as I think you can see by the diversity of people on this stage. But for me, I feel successful every day knowing how fortunate I am to do a job that I love. I enjoy every day working on a different news story and working on the big events that shape our country. And I have a lifelong love of learning that fortunately the news is changing every day and very quickly, and so I have the opportunity to learn something new every day. And I'm constantly amazing my colleagues, not with that was the wrong word choice, but my colleagues are surprised, as Dr. Shin was saying, about what I learned here in Amherst. We're covering things politically right now that hasn't been around in my lifetime, really. And I know about it because I had teachers like Mr. Strom who impressed upon us the importance of knowing history. And I apply that every day in my job. And I'm so thankful for the education I got here at Amherst and the friends I had. So thank you very much.
Corey Kampf is a prime example of a distinguished alumni. After graduating in 2005, Corey used the skills he developed at Steele to accomplish a successful outing at the United States Naval Academy, graduating 11th in his class out of over 1,000 with a Bachelor of Science in International Relations in 2009. Upon his Corey Kampf is a prime example of a distinguished alumni. After graduating in 2005, Corey used the skills he developed at Steele to accomplish a successful outing at the United States Naval Academy, graduating 11th in his class out of over 1,000 with a Bachelor of Science in International Relations in 2009. Upon his graduation, Corey was commissioned as an officer, and then Second Lieutenant Kampf served at the Institute for Defense Analysis in Alexandria, Virginia. Also during this time, Corey attended the University of Oxford in Oxford, United Kingdom, and Peking University in Beijing, China, after which he earned a Master of Philosophy in Modern Chinese Studies in July of 2011. In May of 2015, Corey was selected to serve as a faculty member in the United States Naval Academy Political Science Department. As a political science instructor, he developed and taught courses in American government and international relations. Also in 2015, Corey co-founded Wafadar, a holding company that manages 3 home decor brands with a mission to drive social and economic change in Afghanistan. He left active duty in October of 2017. After leaving the military, Corey received a job in national security policy, only to turn it down for a career change into conservation science and photography. He is currently enrolled in prerequisite courses en route to an advanced degree in biology and volunteers at various environmental conservation organizations in the Washington, D.C. area. He recently received his first photography publishing offer. Corey attended Marion L. Steele from 2001 to 2005 and was involved in student council, students live, concert choir, and the football team. Corey credits Steele with adequately preparing him for success at the Naval Academy, with a special shout out to Mr. Lowry and the TV program for teaching him skills that helped him be an officer, including public speaking and adapting to new challenges that he would not have been exposed to in the regular academic rigor. Corey also credits Mr. Lehman for teaching him how to grow from his mistakes and become a better person. Most of Corey's favorite memories arose in the TV class, including dressing up as Ron Burgundy with his co-anchor for a show. Corey defines a successful person as someone who is a selfless leader and can help others below them to improve themselves. He promises that to get to that level of success, a lot of hard work must be put in and one must have grit. I am proud to introduce you to our newest inductee into the Amherst Distinguished Alumni Gallery Success, Corey Kampf.
Morning. I'm very happy to be here. I'm a proud alumni of Amherst Steele, and I would really like to thank you for coming out and honoring the rest of the people on stage as well as myself. I feel very humbled to be here with people who have showed their perseverance over frankly more time than I have. Right? I've been out of school for 14 years. I haven't been out. I've been out long enough that you guys can start to forecast where you might be in my shoes. Before I get started, I just wanted to thank, first of all, my family for always supporting me. My grandmother, Marge Music, who's here today, for always being there when the family needed her. I'd like to thank Mr. Strom for nominating me, and all of my wonderful teachers who set me up for success. If I'm here at all, it's been a reflection of their efforts and the opportunities that they opened up for me. So, if there's any value you might have from my experience, I thought I would tell you about the way I thought about my life at various stages. One might call these mantras or intentions or priorities. Now that I look back, I think mantra would be a proper word. Either way, these are things that I've kept in my mind that serve as the foundation for what I do on a daily basis, the decisions I make, the goals I set. And so when I was here at high school, I relied on an Air Force recruiting poster, and the mantra that I held was, my greatest fear is that I'll look back on my life and wonder what I did with it. This meant to me to seize any opportunity. To take advantage of everything that Steele had to offer, which is, as others have said, is exceptional. While I was at the Naval Academy, which was a very fast-paced environment, I took to heart something that Mr. Lowry taught me, which is survive and advance. Get through the difficult times, use perseverance to push yourself through, and then grow from that experience. In grad school, after things were able to take on a different nature, my mantra was slow down, think, and reflect. I wanted to not just learn from the classroom environment, but to formulate my own ideas, put myself in the shoes of the decision makers. And I think it's important to reflect on not only your personal values, but perhaps your professional values as well. Once I got into the Marine Corps, and I led an infantry rifle platoon and a sniper platoon into combat, my mantra was simple: be selfless, be compassionate, and be an expert at your job. I thought that to be a leader, being selfless and compassionate was the first thing that I had to accomplish, and everything else would fall into place. And of course, you have to be an expert at what you do, because your subordinates won't entirely respect you if you don't know what you're doing. And I think that goes for any profession. Finally, the last stage of my life that I'm in right now, at least, my mantra would sound something like this: be mindful of the present, be mindful of your own values, and keeping those in mind, work towards your own definition of success. That is, don't allow anybody else to define what success is unless you are working towards something that you find to be important and you find to be valuable. I believe that's one of the few ways that we can reach fulfillment and contribute in the best way possible. So if I said anything so far, the most important thing to get across is that you may have the illusion that because I'm standing on this stage and because we are here being applauded for our success, that we don't struggle or that we don't suffer. Well, I would tell you that's absolutely not the case. You're looking at a person who's been diagnosed with PTSD, bipolar disorder, anxiety, depression. I spent 7 weeks in a VA residential treatment facility for PTSD. And so my message to you is not that you should be able to relate to my experiences, but that you all have your own experiences. You have difficult experiences that can produce emotions so sad, so shocking, so powerful that your brain just can't process them at the time. And it's okay. Those are your experiences, and your perceptions of them are valid. It's okay to feel weakness. It's okay to feel vulnerable. But I just ask that you be willing to communicate that vulnerability to a close friend, to a teacher, to a guidance counselor. Be willing to talk to others. Take it from my example, somebody who has been a Marine, who has occupied a job that some would consider tough. Being tough is admitting what you need to work on in your lives, and that comes from within. And so do not be afraid to reach out and look for ways to grow when you really need it and when you're really suffering. Thank you guys so much for being here and for staying attentive, and good luck tonight versus Olmsted Falls.
Before we wrap this ceremony up, could we have one more round of applause for all 6 of our inductees? As the choir comes back up to treat us with one more number, I would be remiss if I didn't thank 3 people. One of those is Mrs. Kim Malababic. Kim has been my partner in crime. She volunteered the last month of her life baking and preparing for the reception that was in the lobby prior to this ceremony. So thank you, Kim Malababic. Another individual I'd like to thank is Mr. Jason Schaefer of Jason Schaefer Photography. He is a dear friend of mine. He's also here on his own time. He's got a crazy busy weekend, but he's here taking pictures so our inductees can enjoy them later. So thank you, Jason. And And finally, I've been threatened with my life if I say the names of the next people, so I'm just going to say thank you to two very dear friends who have graciously donated these gorgeous crystal bowls, which are engraved for all of our inductees to take home today. So thank you, anonymous friends. If I made a Faulkner reference, would anybody get it? Thank you. I'm not that old.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marty. And in closing, I would like to take this opportunity to, on behalf of our Board of Education, congratulate all of our new inductees. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Thank you for sharing your stories, and thank you for being such great role models for our current students. And again, if we could give them another round of applause. Great job. Thank you so much. And to our students, I would encourage you at this time to take advantage of the opportunities that you have before you. Our staff, our community works very hard to make sure that you have an educational experience that prepares you for success. And as you can see, an Amherst education prepares you for success. So please take advantage of the opportunities that lie before you. Also, just a couple of announcements in closing. A reminder to all of our new and past inductees, we are going to have, following the ceremony, a brunch in the North Gymnasium here, just down the hallway. So again, please be sure and stop by for that if you're able. And I also thought it'd be a nice time to make another quick announcement, very appropriate with homecoming weekend. Many of you know that we are in the process of building a brand new Powers Elementary School, and that building is scheduled to open in January. And as we prepare to say goodbye to the current Powers Elementary School, we are hosting two community walkthroughs, two community open houses, if you will, at our current Powers building across the street. The first one is this Sunday. From 2 to 4. We had many folks that suggested they thought homecoming weekend would be a great time to do that. So again, that's Sunday from 2 to 4, open house across the street here at the Powers Elementary. I know Mr. Marty will be there. We have some commemorative magnets that will be passed out to the first 250 people to walk through the door. So again, if you're able to do that, we'd love to have you. The second one will be later on this fall, Sunday, December the 1st. And at this time, it gives me great pleasure to turn it over to our choir for our final song. Thank you.
And be gracious unto you. And be
thank you all for coming. Love to see you down in the multipurpose room for brunch, and you are welcome to start headed that way now. Thanks again for coming.